might have something to say. I'd have to. I saw that. I mean, I didn't just hear it in this second. I haven't really thought about it.
I mean, is Magic Johnson, like, do we not count Irvin in this? Like, didn't he average like 7.5 rebounds for his career?
Michigander having a statement there. Okay, listen,
I don't know how much you guys like, the numbers matter more than just the eye test or whatever, but like his per 36 rebounds are number one. I think Magic's 2 and Fat Lever's 3, but like,
Oh, Fat Lever.
Fat Lever, that's a name. That is a name. That is a name.
But the numbers,
90s.
Again, I mean, I think some people would argue like he's hunting the numbers in a lot of ways.
Well, you remember Steven Adams in that year? Steven Adams, part of his job description was to block everybody out of the way so Russ could get free throw rebounds.
I mean, beyond just the numbers it produced and the triple double, it's like that's actually a pretty wise strategy. You wipe the defenders out, and your fastest guy on the floor gets the rebound and goes.
Or how about outlet passes? Like, what would Wes Unseld say about Russell Westbrook saying, "Hey, how about you just clear out and let me grab the rebound?" I think, because I was one of those people in 2017 that did not vote for Russell Westbrook for MVP because I felt like we, as a voting block, mass of people, we fell in love with the number 10. Like, I asked so many people, if Russ averaged 31, 9, and 9, would he have won MVP? And people said no. Like, so what are we doing if we're falling in love with a round number?
That's a fair point.
But on the opposite end of that, the effect of, like his spirit, like the effect of like he's an ass kicker, right? And he walks into a locker room and that sort of thing permeates. And I think with the Kings, you have very docile personalities like Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan. He's a vet, but he's not a get in your face sort of vet. Russell Westbrook is the guy that is operating with organizing team dinners, mandatory team dinners on the road, and you better show up. And if any other player is doing that, are you showing up? But if Russell Westbrook is telling you to show up for a non-optional team dinner, you're showing up because you don't want that smoke on the other end. So I think there's a duality to the way that we talk about it. Yeah, there's the stat hunting and everything else, and that's kind of cringy because that came to define him for a few years. But there's also this dogged leader that people genuinely respect, especially for a team like the Kings that needs it. Like, Russ can't fit on every team, but for a team like the Kings, he almost fits perfectly with what they need right now.
It's very purposeful. That was done by Scott Perry, the new GM, with Doug Christie as the head coach, because that's how they're trying to build this team. And this is, in some ways, in many ways, is kind of going to be a lost season for the Kings. I mean, I think we all agree it's not necessarily going anywhere, but this is year one of a regime that is trying to reform the image. Kind of opposite of what the roster says it should be in a lot of ways. And the idea of adding Russell Westbrook is what you were saying. They want an edge. They want to become like this defensive, like, grit team. Again, I think they're going it's going to take some years and some retooling and some roster change, but this is a mindset thing.
Some defensive grit. Let's trade for Zach LaVine. I like Zach LaVine.
Hey, that's why I said the new regime. That, again, although the same owner still sits atop, who I think we could all say green lit the Zach LaVine deal. But
you got to think Scott Perry is a son of a Pittsburgh Steelers, executive, and was an executive himself with the Detroit Pistons during their era. Like, this is a tough minded dude who views basketball through a certain prism, and he's going to build a roster that has a certain element of toughness. He's not shying away from
Steelers
that.
camp every year. I was talking to him the other day. Yeah. He's like really friendly with Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin opens the doors every year, and he goes for like multiple days. And this year he brought BJ Armstrong as assistant GM and Doug Christie, and they like stayed out in the dorms of wherever the Steelers.
St. Vincent College, right? I think that's where they went.
They spent like 5 days out there. And so, that's why he got Russell Westbrook. This is the type of team he's trying to build.
Look, Scott Perry was my teammate for a couple of years at ESPN. So I rooted for the best. I just think the roster is in a tough spot. Slater, can you update us on where the Warriors are? Like, Draymond, and then Jimmy Butler hurt his back. Draymond was out. Steph's got an illness. What's the status there?
Was it wine? Was it wine flu?
No, it was like a legitimate flu. He sounded horrible post game after the Pacers game, like coughing, sniffling. It said it was getting worse. I talked to him in the locker room afterwards. It's like stay back 8 feet unless you want to get this. He stayed home. He was like, they did a pregame huddle yesterday in Sacramento. He was on FaceTime. I don't know which player. Somebody had the phone up and he was on FaceTime in the huddle. But he was legitimately sick to the point that he told Steve Kerr yesterday the symptoms were still worsening. And I wonder about his status Friday against Denver. Butler went up for a dunk in Indy, kind of back tightened up. It's kind of the age of this team. Tried to play through it, in the Suns game. Had to ask out after 14 ineffective minutes. I expect him to still try to give it a go Friday in Denver. Draymond, I think it was they just utilized the mass rest type night. Draymond actually was the one of the three that made the trip to Sacramento and was on the bench. So they're generally fine as far as you'll see them soon. But I will say, if you're going to ring some alarm bells, it's 8 games into the season, and Steve Kerr's on the podium talking about how wiped out their stars are. I know it is a condensed early season schedule. They're about to go on a 6-game trip. They've already played 3 back-to-backs, most in the league, but it's November 6th, and they're talking about being wiped out for a stretch. Not a great sign.
I have 2 Warriors comments. The next time I see Steph Curry, I don't know when that's going to be, but I am going to talk to him about what I think is one of the greatest feats of his career, which just happened.
Okay.
In this golfing thing that he did with Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're acting like I'm joking.
He was really proud of the way he played that day.
Rightfully so. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about, Vinny?
I heard it on a podcast that Steph was on, which brought to me if he had a wine hangover.
No,
I didn't know exactly what he was talking about.
This was a badass hangover from being a badass. Because I'm telling you, first off, it's this web series that Bryson DeChambeau goes, and I'm not endorsing the series. You don't have to watch it, but this particular episode, it was 1 hour and 10 minutes long. I wanted it to be 3 hours long.
You watched all at 110?
Hell, yes, I did. I enjoyed every second of it. And there's this one moment where, Bryson DeChambeau, he's like one of the longest hitters in the world, certainly amongst the professional golfers. There's guys out there who are specialists who only swing who aren't real pro players who can hit it longer. But amongst the pro golfers, Bryson's like top 3. And there's this one hole where Bryson hits it. And he's like, oh, I got that one, pard. I got that one. Whew, it was a par 5. They were trying to get there in 2. And he's like cracking his knuckles like, I got that one real good. And so the concept of the show is, they're in the cart and they're shooting the bleep while they're driving. And so they're driving up and, Bryson still admires, like, yeah, I've been waiting. The whole day I've been holding back for this drive. And they get up there and he's like, and it's the best as you can see it in real time. He's like, wait a minute, Steph, you might have got me. Steph, you might have got. First off, he hit like 7 jaw-dropping shots in the round, and it was a scramble. And I think they used more shots of Steph's than Bryson's. And to be that good and to play that way in that setting, amazing. Second thing I'm going to say about the Warriors, you saw this little flare up this week between Draymond and KD about whether defense or offense wins championships. And I know that there's aggregation involved and KD's, doing his thing on social media. The Warriors were the best offense and the best defensive team in those years. End of discussion. Either you got anything to say about that?
I mean, it's just true.
Okay. So I'm over. I'm tired of it.
Look, Draymond is going to get his takes off, including on the NFL. I think he made some headlines this week talking about Dak Prescott. And Kevin Durant is going to respond to takes he sees online. And your assessment is correct. I mean, that's why they were dominant in that era. Like, think about, the front line with prime KD, prime Draymond in like late prime Andre Iguodala with Klay Thompson. Prime Klay Thompson is like you're just like hound on the perimeter. Yeah, those were pretty good defensive teams.
I mean, that's why it's called a death lineup for a reason. And it wasn't called a death lineup because of how great they were on offense. Like, that was a byproduct, but because you were able to cause like hell on teams for 10-minute stretches where you just prevented them from scoring, and you could run away and hide because you could turn defense into offense better than any team in NBA history. Better than, I mean, look, man, that 2017 Warriors team might be the greatest single season team.
Number
Period.
one in offensive rating, number 2 in defensive rating. And it was close enough to the Spurs that if there had been a different last week of the season where they maybe played, they might have been number 1 in both. Okay. Then 17-18, where they already knew they had everybody beat. Like, they knew no one was touching them. So they were 3 in offense and like 6 in defense. And that was when they knew that if they just had to tap the gas, that they could just take anybody down. So I'm just saying, number one. All right. Sorry. Detour.
Warriors Nation, what we are witnessing right now in Golden State is more than just a statistical uptick. It's the beginning of something real, something electric, something that feels like destiny taking shape in front of our eyes. Because while the headlines are focused on Steph Curry's absence and the noise outside the Bay wonders if this team can survive without its superstar, inside that locker room, another star is quietly being born. His name is Jonathan Kuminga, and what he's doing right now without Steph on the floor isn't just impressive. It's a message to the entire league that the Warriors' next great era might already be here. Let's break this down. Every time Curry sits, every time this team is forced to adjust, one player has stepped forward with fire in his eyes: Jonathan Kuminga. And it's not just the raw numbers, it's the way he's doing it. Since the start of last season, Kuminga has played 15 games without Steph. In those games, he's averaging 26.9 points per 36 minutes. Read that again, 26.9. That's superstar company, the kind of names you only see at the very top of the league. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham. That's not just filling in for Curry, that's becoming the guy. When he gets minutes, he explodes. 6 games over 29 minutes, and he scored at least 23 in every single one of them. We're talking 33 against Houston, 34 against the Clippers, 30 against Minnesota, 26 against the Timberwolves again, 24 against Sacramento. These aren't flashes anymore. These are statements. Consistent, efficient, mature statements. The kind that say, I belong. Now, the casual fan might say, yeah, but the team's record in those games isn't great. And sure, the Warriors are 6-9 without Curry. But let's be honest, what team in this league wouldn't struggle when their greatest player of all time is out? What matters here is not the record, it's the response. It's how a 21-year-old kid from the Congo has started to play like someone who understands that greatness isn't given. It's earned every possession, every drive, every rebound, every defensive stand. And what's changed most isn't just Kuminga's scoring, it's his growth. This season, he's averaging career highs in almost every single category that matters. 17.2 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 41.4% from 3, and an incredible 82.5% from the free throw line. Think about that. Those are not the numbers of a bench spark or an energy player. Those are the numbers of someone transforming into a complete player. He's becoming disciplined. He's learning how to slow the game down, how to pick his spots, how to attack smarter, not just harder. And that's exactly what Steve Kerr has been preaching, that patience and rhythm come from understanding the game within the game. Kerr said earlier this month that Kuminga's focus has sharpened, that he's learning how to impact without forcing the issue. You can see it. The jumpers are cleaner. The decision-making is calmer. Even his body language screams confidence now. No more deferring, no more hesitation. Stephen Curry himself said earlier this season that Kuminga's energy changes the flow of the game. Coming from Steph, that's massive, because Steph doesn't throw praise around lightly. He recognizes what's happening, that the Warriors' future star is already on the rise right beside him. And Draymond Green, the vocal leader, has made it clear Kuminga's time is now. He's earned the trust. When Draymond says that, it means the entire locker room feels it. Of course, growth isn't without flaws. Kuminga's assist-to-turnover ratio sits around 1-to-1, not ideal for a player starting to shoulder more playmaking responsibility. And his defense, while fierce and active, sometimes overreaches. But here's the thing, that's part of the evolution. Every great player goes through this phase where their athleticism is ahead of their discipline. And you can see the adjustments happening in real time. He's learning how to use that raw explosiveness more effectively, how to contain rather than chase, how to influence without fouling. The foundation is there, it's just refining the masterpiece. And make no mistake, the Warriors need this. They need a young player who can carry the offensive torch when the veterans rest. They need a scorer who can slash through the lane, take contact, and still finish strong. They need energy. Kuminga brings all of that. When he's on the floor, the Warriors play faster, attack harder, and look younger. It's like he's the bridge between eras, the fire of the future meeting the wisdom of the past. Look at the games without Steph this season. You can literally feel the identity shift. The ball finds Kuminga, and suddenly the pace changes. His first step is violent, his finishes at the rim are confident. He's not waiting for permission anymore. He's hunting matchups, drawing doubles, collapsing defenses. That's star behavior. What's even more exciting is that Kuminga's improvement is not happening in isolation. It's being guided by some of the best basketball minds alive. Steve Kerr, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, now a Warrior whose competitive edge has already rubbed off on the young forward. Add in veterans like Al Horford and Gary Payton II, and you've got an environment that turns raw potential into polished production. The analytics back it up too. According to Cleaning the Glass, Kuminga's points per possession on isolation plays have jumped by nearly 20% since last year. His catch-and-shoot three-point efficiency has risen to top-tier levels for forwards under 23. And when Curry sits, his usage rate spikes, but his efficiency stays consistent. That's elite company. That's maturity. That's stardom in motion. So what does this mean for the Warriors moving forward? It means that even in a tough start, with injuries and fatigue testing this roster, there's real optimism in the Bay. Because the future is no longer hypothetical. It's here. It's wearing number 0, and he's learning fast. If you've been around long enough to remember when people doubted whether Curry could lead a franchise, this should feel familiar. The same skepticism, the same flashes of brilliance that hint at something bigger, the same moments where you can't quite define what's happening, you just know it's special. Kuminga has that same spark. And think about the timing. As Steph, Draymond, and the core legends continue to manage minutes and focus on postseason health, the Warriors desperately need a young player who can keep them afloat and carry stretches. Kuminga is proving he can be that guy. He's not replacing Steph, no one can, but he's ensuring the Warriors don't lose their identity when Steph isn't there. That's how dynasties extend. That's how legacies live on. This is the natural evolution of greatness. Every empire needs its next general, and Jonathan Kuminga is stepping into that role, not as a sidekick, but as a future leader who can one day command the floor with his own presence. So Warriors Nation, if you're worried about the early record, take a breath, because what you're seeing right now is the foundation of the next wave. The box scores might not show it yet, but the energy, the confidence, the trust, it's all building towards something powerful. And when Steph comes back healthy, when this team regains its rhythm, you're going to see a version of the Warriors that's both experienced and young, both wise and explosive. The dynasty isn't fading, it's regenerating. So let me ask you this. Do you believe Jonathan Kuminga can be the next face of the Golden State Warriors? Do you see him as the bridge to the post-Curry era, or maybe even the player who carry this team into the next decade? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're as excited as I am about this new chapter, hit that like button, subscribe to Warriors Nation News, and stay locked in, because the Bay's next star is shining bright, and this story is only getting started. Jonathan Kuminga isn't just filling in for Steph Curry. He's announcing himself to the world, and the league better be ready.